So we realize that there is diverse forms of organisms ranging from a single cellular organism to multicellular organisms, and uh, then we realize that then many scientists started wondering that how does life initiated or life formed in Earth. See, by the time when they started questioning this, it was time when they were questioning the religious origin of life, like God is present all the time, and they created human beings, they created other forms of living. So, that's theist form of theory of creation was on. But there were some scientists who were really rebellion to those ideas, and they started questioning that this may not be true. The theist theory, the uh, God created life theory may not hold true. It may have created some form of the life, but so many things, nothing, so many forms of lives are there, and only few life forms are mentioned in the Bible or any of this religious literature. So people started questioning that, and of course they were punished for questioning also. But you cannot subside somebody's scientific temperament. And then uh, came to there was some explanations came after Darwin, and during the Darwin's time, in fact. So that there is possibility that we could have received life from some other planet, like maybe God had sent it, okay, in a form of meteorite, the most simplest form of life form, or life might have started here in Earth, and people gradually started believing that life is a complex chemistry system. You see chemical reactions happening around, but when you see multiple chemical reactions happening without creating blasts or explosions, then it is a life system, okay, living system. So these are two theories, and from that, um, we just now try to understand that where are these chemical reaction happens, and does they need a confined space to do that? Yes, they need a confined space, and these are called the cells. And that's the reason you cannot see a living system operating without simple small compartmentalizations. Are these compartmentalizations a repetitive unit? Yes, that is what Robert Hooke found, that these are really repetitive unit, more or less periods of empty spaces. He initially told that in his book Micrographia, and then cell theory came. These repeated units actually had cytoplasm filled in, meaning some liquid substance filled in, wherein the reactions are happening. Now, what are these reactions? These reactions actually make sure the organism can move. These reactions is making sure that organism eats something, okay, digest it, get some energy out of it to move further. And this cell or also do have information that how one kind can be divided into two without losing the information. How to eat, what to eat, these informations are already there in the cells, and it is operating in its own means. But while dividing, and when generation passes, it should not uh, be lost. These are the certain things which we needed to which a cell needed to make sure it should contain. So the first thing we just knew that most simplest form of cells, and probably these are the first kind of organisms the Earth might have seen. Okay, because they are very simple, no lot of complexity here. Only there is a cytoplasm, and last class we discussed about the prokaryotes. These are actually the major empires also can call, and these are the maximum number of species present on the surface of Earth. Other species are these eukaryotes. Maximum number of species are of prokaryotes. And when we are saying this, when we only know 10 to 20% of the species, what all we can see on the face of Earth. We may know all the families which are present, but the species wise we do not know. I mean, all organisms we haven't yet explored. We are trying to explore. By the time we complete explorations, I think we will kill half or maybe 70% of this all other organisms also through ocean pollution and a lot of other ways. But we can see that these are the most ubiquitous. Every square centimeter or cubic centimeter of space you trace out in the earth, you will find these organisms. Okay, just take a cubic centimeter of air, you will find. Take a cubic centimeter of water, you will find. Take a cubic centimeter of soil, you will find these organisms. Take a cubic centimeter of your skin punch, you will find these organisms only, because they are residing in your skin also. Okay, with eukaryotic organisms, they also reside. That's what we discussed last class. Let's not make much fuss about this. The point here is this organism is very simple. That's why it can be very ubiquitous. I asked the question why they cannot be multicellular. Can they be multicellular in nature? No. They became multicellular some cases. This is a multicellular organism. I mean, you can say the microbes are behaving as a multicellular. They can look like a multicellular organism. See, there is no practical connection between each other. Okay. So I mean, you can say that why eukaryotes are multicellular, and they also can. You can see a cell structure, multicellular structure. You can see in eukaryotes. They also more or less looks like that, but there are a lot of intracellular connections between that, cell-to-cell connections, which are stable. It's not transient. Temporary bridging is not there. It's stable. Um, it doesn't mean bacterial cells don't talk to each other. They also talk to each other, but the level of talking is very frugal, very what do you say? You can say it's very naive, very unmatured. The way eukaryotic cells, they do have multiple connections. They can talk through simple surge of physical jolt. They can pass informations through chemically. They can pass informations through changing of pH. A lot of things they can do. That means their main idea is to communicate with other cells. That's why multicellular organisms majorly are eukaryotes, which do have they have organ systems. You cannot, if you have bacterial biofilms, you see these things. If you see a flake of blue-green algae floating on the on in water, this must be this bacterial a chunk of bacteria which is covered with slime molds. Okay, so this is called capsule. I just wrote last time. And this is the structure we saw, and we saw it through this what do you say, this web page. Next, we try to understand how complex the eukaryotes are. Now, what are the this is a very simple area. You see all molecules are dangling inside. If you see the electron microscope image, it's the same one. In case of eukaryotes and prokaryotes, you see there is difference in the cell wall also. There could be a gram-positive bacteria, gram for not 1 gram, 2 gram. It's this gram meaning is a scientist. Okay, and he defined this staining system. That's the foundation of microbiology. Okay. So let's go and check out the eukaryotic cells. What kind of forms and shapes we see? We see, as I said, ghost cells, red blood cells of human beings. They are these forms. White blood cells, often the nucleus are very uneven. Okay. You can see some cells which are elongated and multinucleated. Can you see that? Mesophyll cells in plants, you see, they are like this. Okay. They also do have nucleus, of course. So there are varieties of cell shapes, and eukaryotic cells. If you may not see a 10-15 centimeter sized prokaryotic cells, but eukaryotic cell you can see. There's the egg of an ostrich, which is the largest cell, unicellular, I mean, single cell known to human being or known to Earth. Maybe dinosaur's egg was bigger than that. So if I say it's existing, an egg is a single cell. It's not. It doesn't stay single cell all along its life, but once it just comes out of the mama ostrich, it is a single cell. If you keep it in fridge, it will stay for single cell. If you bring it into an incubator, it starts dividing. So it doesn't stay single cell for long. Okay. So same the egg of a hen is also single cellular, and uh, the cells can be as smaller as your RBCs, which is almost 8 micron. And some microbes are very much incomparable to the length of RBCs. Okay, 3-4 microns. Micron meaning micrometer. There are nerve cells which can go long as long as a meter length it can have. It's a single cell body, but its length can pass meters. So cells have a lot of dimensional, but there are certain commonality within the cells. In fact, the cells in the vascular bundles, xylem, phloem, they are also very long in nature. The central portion is dead, but the surrounding cells, they also are sometimes very long in nature. So be it plant, be it animals, we have this eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are there, but just as a friend. Okay, when they turn enemy, they cause diseases to our body. But for our regular replication and sustaining, if you say the fundamental portion of the eukaryotic life is its own cell, which contains a specific nucleus. This is what the animal cell, a typical animal cells look like. It has got a nucleus, if you see here. Do not have to read all of this now. You can, this is for you to help. I can have a simpler diagram, but for a PPT, I wanted this one. You can really go through. We'll go through a virtual experiment also. This is the nucleus. All eukaryotic cells, mainly we are discussing about animal and plant cells, they do have nucleus. And each nucleus is enclosed within a single captivity. And in case of animal cells, you have a plasma membrane. In case of plants, also we have a plasma membrane, but the plasma membrane is surrounded by a thick cell wall. Cell wall is, if you really want to go in the cellular scale and your size, if I reduce your size to some, couple of micrometers, you will you will find the cell wall as tough as the concrete wall. Okay, and the membrane, you may find it jumpy like a trampoline, but you cannot pass through the trampoline, right? It can bump you up and down. So cell wall is like concrete walls and doesn't allow, but it does have windows and doors through which the cells, as this is a eukaryotic cells, it does want to talk to each other multiple cells are there around surrounding it. So it does want to talk to each other through this, talk to each other as in exchange of chemicals. Doesn't speak out some, doesn't produce sound, but it exchanges chemicals which it produces. That's how it communicates information. Also, it communicates or transports food. Okay, so that's a very unique side of living system, is the transport system through the membrane. Okay, that's a very important part. Um, uh, so that means now, if I say we had left our journey in the place where we had a lot of complicated molecules, which was generated through the Miller's experiment in vitro, that means in the laboratory, but that did not come to be a cell. Now, how can you make a cell? I'm just saying that if these molecules which has initially formed start making similar of their molecules on and on, they can become living. Okay, and they can take raw material, meaning simpler molecule from outside, and they make their own kind of molecules again and again. And for that, you just imagine there is a protein or amino acids they have formed, which is water soluble. They also could form lipids. In the Miller experiment, they have reported formation of lipids also. Lipid meaning oils. Just see that, try to put some oil drops in water. What happens? Oil becomes globular in nature, right? Meaning small spears, little spears, you will see that is floating in water, and that could be oil. If the oil is heavy, it will sink down. If the oil is lighter, it will keep on floating on the surface. That's all. You just, what you do is just add a little bit of uh, shampoo onto it. What you will see? You will see that this oil will turn to small particles. These small particles are actually spheres where it contains water inside, and it contains the, sorry, this is the advanced form, I would say. It will turn to be a sphere. What it will do is it will have this oil molecule, which are long chains of fatty acids here, and this is the surfactants. You know, surfactant faces the water, and these long hydrophobic chains, they love to face each other. This is the natural arrangement. So this is, you just took oil in water and put some shampoo into it. That's how. So you will not see oil floating anymore. They will turn into small globules. You will see the water becomes a bit unclear, okay, turbid. Now, if you, there is one special arrangement. This is another special arrangement that, sorry, this is another special arrangement in which the the surfactant will stay outside towards the water, and the membrane, sorry, the lipid molecule, the oil molecule will face each other, and this way they can make a sphere also. And in the central part, they will again contain water. Outside, they can have water. So this is called double layer lipid micelles. Okay. So actually, your membrane is kind of this. If at all it had happened naturally that these molecules are formed and this kind of micelle would have formed, then this molecules can possibly make their own environment inside and start making their own kind of molecules inside. But there are a lot of other catches. This molecule has to produce more of the micellar lipids also, meaning oil molecules. So a lot of other catches are there. Until that time, you cannot have a completely living system. Okay, so um, this is about the plasma membrane, which actually is kind of a double layered soap and oil mixture, which is containing water inside and having a water outside, but doesn't allow water from outside to inside mixing thoroughly. unless there is a protein barriers like this. They can allow you to allow mixing of this. Entry of ions, entry of water molecules. Okay, so plasma membrane has got a lot of role to play here. Then we have this mitochondria, which is a powerhouse. You get to see Golgi apparatus. In animal cells, you see very small size vacuole, and in case of a plant cell, you see a large size vacuole. Okay, so vacuole in the plant cells, its major job is to maintain the pressure. Okay, maintain the pressure meaning it normally contain a lot of water and ions and makes the plant like a very tightly swollen watermelon, so that the whole plant stays in its place. So if you put them in a sugar solution or something like that, the water can come out and go inside the vacuole. In case of animal cells, the vacuoles are very small, except for adipose tissue, meaning the tissue which grows in our fat flaps. There, these vacuoles may contain oil droplets, okay, which will break again, which will keep the nucleus again aside, and. But other cells, the nucleus is at the center or bit of off the center. Here around the nucleus, you see there is a nuclear membrane. Nuclear membrane has a lot of pores. Here also you can see, and rest other features these are more or less same. We have peroxisomes. We have small vesicles. See, the most important complexity in living systems is that a lot of thread-like material. This is one thing you see. A lot of thread-like material, which actually gives because these cells are larger. I mean, for a bacterial cell, eukaryotic cell, or probably your white blood cell is almost as a very big giant. For a bacteria, it's a whale. It's almost kind of a blue whale. So multiple of you can be accommodated inside a blue whale, maybe larger than a blue whale. Okay. So so a lot of threads are there, which actually are we call it cytoskeleton. This is very transient. Our skeleton is very rough, very stable. It doesn't break, and so those who do breakdance, they can flex their skeleton very well. But everybody can't do that. The cell can do breakdance at any point because the skeleton isn't rigid. Any moment it can make a skeleton of its own, and it can dissolve the skeleton, and it can make another skeleton. Okay, so any structure it can acquire. So that's how the cells can wriggle in and out anywhere. Then we see this lot of circular globular things. These are circular things, and these things are membrane bound organelles. See, this organelles, only one membrane bound organelle you must have seen in the bacteria, that is mesosome, and that too which helps in bit of DNA replication and your respiration. Here, membrane-bound organelles we only find is in eukaryotes, a lot of membrane-bound organelles. In fact, almost all organelles are membrane-bound, okay, except these centrioles. Initially, they are membrane-bound. When it comes to functionality, it leaves. Ribosomes are non-membrane-bound. These small dots, red dots, are non-membrane-bound. These are protein synthetic machineries, small machines, which has to be put in a unit, large unit of protein factory, so that the proteins could be produced. This is a protein production factory where these units are assembled here, and which produces proteins. This is called a rough endoplasmic reticulum. There is a smooth endoplasmic reticulum too, which why it is called reticulum, meaning very reticular labyrinth-like structure. Okay, so it's very curvy. Then we have Golgi apparatus. It's similar to this, you see, but if you see it in 3D, it looks more. The cavities look more, flat. Here cavities are tunnel-like. Here cavities are more flat, basement-like. And these, so proteins are synthesized here, and proteins are, transported to Golgi. Golgi finally packages the protein for the use of our body or cellular system, also to be secreted outside. Some proteins are to be produced for outside use, like for enzymes and all, digestive enzymes, they has to be produced outside. Some enzymes the cells itself needs to digest. This is the stomach of cells. In our, we have a continuous stomach system. In cells, they cannot afford to have, they have to have it very dynamic. So they do have a membrane enclosure, which is called the lysosome, where all the digestive enzymes are there. Whenever cells get something, eat something up, which it needs to digest, it allows the uh, uh, phagocytic vesicle to fuse with this, so that the stomach purpose is done. Okay, so what we miss, there is another small dot here inside the nucleus. This nucleus is called, this small dot nucleus inside a nucleus is called a nucleolus. Okay, and you will find it in the plant cells also. And you'll see a lot of thread-like things. They are chromatin fibers. So another important thing which I did not discuss with you now is this. This is the main powerhouse of the cell. Meaning, why I say powerhouse of the cell? Energy. When the cell produces or needs energy, it needs to take glucose or other molecules, break them into other form of chemical energy, so that the cell can use those chemical energy in maximum reactions. Okay, so cells are a mixture of a lot of complicated reactions, and they need a very high bond energy molecule, so that which can be used for almost all kind of reactions. So that molecules are being produced by this mitochondria. People say that this mitochondria comes, actually was a bacteria earlier, because this mitochondria, like our eukaryotic cell, has its own DNA, and that DNA is circular in nature. Okay. Similarly, in case of plant, we have another organelle that is called the plastid. Plastid is called chloroplast. It also has its own DNA. So in eukaryotes, in animals, we don't have the plastid. In plant cells, we have these two organelles, which is believed to come from a bacterial source. It used to be a prokaryote, and it somehow jumped into the eukaryotic cell and kept on dividing with the eukaryotic cell. Okay, so without perturbing its system. So plastid, what is the job of plastid? Plastid here, the photosynthesis purpose is mainly done, meaning there is a very nice photon to electron converting system is there inside the, that is again membrane based. So membranes are very nicely in living systems. They do not have semiconductors. So they have, but this photosynthetic process do have almost 100% photonic efficiency. So semiconductors are not so good, then you need to understand that. So this is about the overall idea. Let's go for a tour of this plant and animal cell. So this is cytoskeleton. This link I can just share with you, so that you can. So interesting link. Okay, so this is a animal cell, and you can. What I'm swirling is a magnifying lens, which will give me, or X-ray lens, you can say, which is going to give me the things whatever there inside. Okay, so nucleus. Okay, so you can see it's a nucleus. Nucleus. Okay, now What is this?
Endoplasmic
Reticulum. So
endoplasmic reticulum.
it's very close to the nucleus. This is you can see it in 3D. This is how it looks. Okay, so
mitochondria.
Here it is, mitochondria.
Golgi
apparatus. Golgi or Golgi apparatus.
Cytoskeleton.
Okay. What else can we see here?
Lysosomes, lysosomes and other specialized vesicles.
We call small balls of membranes or endomembranes we can saw.
Lysosomes and other specialized vesicles.
We call these membranes as endomembranes, and majorly if there are small ball shaped, we call them vesicles. You can also say that whole cell is a vesicle in a large format, but you can say cells are very much independent of in making. So can we see ribosomes? Most likely not. Can we turn into a
plant cell?
What do you see here? It's a simple cell, eukaryotic cell.
Unlike animal cells, plant cells are surrounded by a sturdy cell wall. Chloroplasts are also unique to plant cells. Chloroplasts harness energy from the sun, and like mitochondria, contain their own genome. Most plant cells contain massive compartments called vacuoles, which perform a variety of important functions.
So you can see the cell wall looks, it doesn't look green actually. So it's, these are majorly colored. Cell wall has multiple components. Its chemical composition is a bit different. Okay, and see, it looks like a wall, almost like a wall, and it contains a balloon. So it would be okay for this class. This is another interesting video. If you want to see the cellular processes, it's the best way to see. I can give you as a homework. You can try that. So it's a very fantastic YouTube 360 video. If you can see it in your mobile phone, it would be best. So if you have a VR glass, that is or further better. So you can, there is a toured guide. So whatever, that means this video, you have to imagine yourself, you have shrunk inside the cell and you are trying to see the cellular processes. Okay, what is happening inside the cells, where the Golgi body is acting, where the ribosomes are acting, where are the vesicles, how they are going here and there, those things. So it would be easy for you to understand the overall dynamics of the cells and how all organelles are very much interrelated. Nothing useless is there in living system. Just need to understand that. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll wrap up the class today. If you